Hi guys, this is Ranjit, and in this video let's do a tech Q&A session. It's been a while and I asked you guys on Twitter, so I've got quite a few questions, so we'll be answering almost about 20 odd questions. So let's go over that. And the first question that I got was from Geekyranjit Ghosh. He's asking what currently is going on in India. Do you think after this non-Chinese brands will focus more aggressively in India? What's right now happening is very upsetting. I'm not liking it. I just don't feel like working because of the situation. And yes, I feel currently there is a lot of scope for these non-Chinese smartphone brands, but the question is, will they take the opportunity to capitalize on this? For example, Samsung, Asus, Nokia, LG, some of the options. But the question mark is there, will they be aggressive? And for example, there is a lot of scope, but it's up to them. And the way currently the things are going on, I can just hope things change in the future. And this is again, I just want to take these controversial questions first. This is by Aman Gupta. Non-Chinese options in smartphones. Technically, Aman, I've answered this earlier also on Twitter. Technically, you cannot get a smartphone that is 100% non-Chinese, because many of the important parts in a smartphone are manufactured in India. There are a lot of hundreds of parts in the smartphone, and some of the very important parts are actually manufactured in China. Though even let's say that phone is being assembled in India, and guys, it's actually assembled in India. Many of the parts are imported, so you just can't say 100% China free. But yes, you can look at some of the other brands. For example, Samsung, you can take LG, you can see Asus, that's a Taiwanese company. Nokia, you can have a look at. So these are some of the other options that you can look if you don't want a non-Chinese OEM. I think that's what you were referring. Anyways, let's move to the next thing. And guys, I'll talk about this one more question: why these Chinese smartphone manufacturers are ruling the Indian market. It's almost like they have taken over 75% of the market. I'll answer that question also later on, because somebody asked me, it's down there, and I'll answer that. This is by Anvraf Impulse. He's asking, what are your expectations with OnePlus Z? Do you think OnePlus will be able to capture the mid-range market by pricing it aggressively? We have been hearing a lot of rumors regarding this OnePlus Z. This is supposed to be the premium mid-range smartphone by OnePlus. Earlier, there were rumors that will come with MediaTek Dimensity 1000 chipset, that's 5G. But now, the latest rumors are that it will come with the Snapdragon 765 SoC, which is again 5G ready. And there'll be a lot of rumors floating around with this one. Some people were quoting that it might be priced around 25,000. It's supposed to come sometime in July. Let's see when it happens. I feel the pricing might be between that 25 to about 29,000 based on the configuration and stuff. And let's see if OnePlus can get that one. The biggest advantage of OnePlus is that, and many users who have been actually using OnePlus, I asked them, will you stick with OnePlus? And most of them said yes. And I asked them why. And the reason is the Oxygen OS. So I think so, yes, it might be able to, and it's a high time. Other brands also realize the crap UI that they are giving. Just clean up your UI and stuff, and you can get sales. That's what OnePlus has proof. Glad that some of the manufacturers, I think so, might implement this in the future. But I think so still, for OnePlus, that Oxygen OS is a big trump card. But pricing, let's see. These days, because of the COVID situation, what is going on, just don't want to speculate on the pricing. But anywhere between 25 to 29,000 in my opinion. They might keep it slightly below 30 for that psychological factor. Anyways, this is by Naveed Patel. He's asking, is it worth to buy a portable SSD over standard hard drive with mobile phone connectivity? What if there is data loss? Naveed, I have been actually using portable SSDs for a long time. In fact, I mostly use the Samsung's, portable SSDs for my video editing, because sometimes I use here is my iMac Pro, but sometimes I edit it with this laptop and the other laptops I have. So all my data is mostly on portable SSD. I use the Samsung portable SSD. In fact, I made videos about them. I have a couple of them. I didn't have any data loss or anything in the past 2.5 years since I'm using them. But yes, the problem with SSDs is that though they're very fast, you can even do video editing. If there is a data loss, some corruption is there, getting your data back is extremely difficult and very expensive on a SSD. So that is the thing. But again, these are pretty reliable. I've been using them for almost 2.5 years. I just throw them in the bag and it's solid state. So yeah, but again, if data loss is there, corruption happens, then returning the data on SSD is very difficult. But SSDs, I feel, are more rugged than normal conventional hard drives, because SSD simply does not have that moving parts like head, etc., that we have on conventional hard drives. This is by Dream Boy. He's asking multiple questions. How far will the trend of side-mounted fingerprint scanner and pop-up camera go? I like the trend of the side-mounted fingerprint scanner. In many of the mid-range phones, it actually came. I have some of them, the Realme and the ones here we have it, and I feel it's actually really good. It's really fast and convenient because your hand points here. So I feel this is a better implementation of the fingerprint scanner than on the back, because back here your finger naturally less, and they have become very fast. So I hope this continues, especially in the mid-range phones. Pop-up camera, I'm not a big fan of it, but I know many people who like that full view display, not even that punch hole notch. But in terms of reliability, I would say long term, if you look at 2-3 years, if you want to use it, I feel the pop-up camera might not be as reliable as a punch hole. So my preference is punch hole personally, because that pop-up is again a mechanical stuff. Next, he's asking, with ever increasing fast charges from 5 watts to 65 watts, where are we heading? In the long run, are the batteries will be safe? I don't think so. We have stopped, because there were rumors that Xiaomi is going to come out with a 100 watt or 120 watt fast charging solution. But I personally feel right now what we are getting, yes, we have that 65 watt also. The new Oppo Find X had that. In fact, to attain that, they had to actually use 2 separate batteries inside, 2100, 2100, and they charge it. That's why they get that faster charging. But I feel currently about 30 watt fast charging is plenty fast. Recently I was testing the OnePlus devices, and they have that 30 watt fast charging, and they charge pretty quickly. So I feel that's a good balance between, because eventually if you charge it very quickly, it will take a toll on the battery life, because you're pumping in so much current in such a small span of time. So I feel, yes, it's good to look at 65 watt, 90 watt, or whatever will come, but I feel 30 watt is a good measure, because you do get that fast charging. And I feel with these super fast charging, you'll have an option of checking mark slow charging, because when you don't need to charge it quickly, it simply does not make sense. And lastly, he's asking, with increasing wireless earphones, are 3.5mm headphone jack a thing of that? Sadly, that's what is happening, and I just don't like that trend, because even the best of the best Bluetooth headsets, I would say, do exhibit that minor tiny lag of about 115 to 120 milliseconds, which is simply absent with a wired headset. And this is that's why if you look at professional competitive gamers or whatever, they will always use a wired headset. They won't go with the Bluetooth one. And so yeah, I don't like that trend, but yeah, that's what we are seeing, and hopefully this trend does not catch up in the mid-range Android phones. This is by Mirit. He's asking, with OnePlus Fusion Plus, do you think Motorola will be back to this glorious days of Moto G, like the couple of years ago? Certainly the Moto, this is the Moto, Motorola One Fusion Plus, certainly a pretty good device. And right now, Motorola has finally got the pricing also, right? And I like the fact that it's completely stock Android without ads and stuff. So certainly a good device. I feel the camera can become better with software updates, so let's see that, but certainly a good device, and let's see how it converts into sale. But after a long time, I would say in the mid-range space, I'm liking a Motorola phone. Anyways, let's move. This is by Varun. He's asking, does 108 megapixel camera actually make a difference that's noticeable, unlike 32, 48 or 64 megapixel? It's not about the megapixel, guys. I've always talked about this. It depends on the image processing that is done afterwards. To be very frank, I have seen the latest crop of 48 megapixel or even the 64 megapixel producing some excellent pictures. For example, the OnePlus 8, it uses just that 48 megapixel, but the pictures that are coming out of that are amazing, I would say. So and I think so OnePlus now had the time to optimize that 48 megapixel sensor, because we are having it for so many years. So again, it takes time. It's just not that if you have 108 megapixel, the pictures will be way better. It depends on after image processing, which is a very, very important thing. And that's why I've seen a lot of times phones that are having a lot lower megapixel count beat, phones having a higher megapixel count. It's just after image processing that matters. But now we have seen the 48 and 64 megapixel cameras a lot, and I think the manufacturers had that time to really optimize the image processing algorithm used with that. Hence, we are getting very good results. So eventually, I would say even with the 108 megapixel cameras, that will be the case. For example, the Mi 10, when I tested, yes, the 108 megapixel camera, actually the image processing was done a lot better than the Moto Edge Plus. So again, though both of them had that 108 megapixel camera, it depends on the after image processing. This is by Dr. Pramod. Ranjit, between the iPad Pro and the MacBook Air launched this year, which one should one go for? Budget is not a problem. He says strictly no gaming or graphic usage. I would say both are a very different device, the iPad and the MacBook Air. This is the MacBook Air, the new one, and I even have the iPad, but I tried to use the iPad as a computer, attaching that fancy keyboard and etc., but it failed miserably. Just get it right. iPad is not a replacement for your laptop. If you're thinking that you will be doing that, it is a painful experience, I would say. Still, after spending a lot, you won't get that experience. So decide what you want. Do you want a tablet? By just attaching a keyboard, rarely you'll use the keyboard a little bit, then you can go with an iPad. But if you want a computer, I would say stick with the MacBook Air. You'll thank me later, because trust me, I have 2 generations of iPad Pro, and still I tried to use it like a computer and it failed miserably. Anyways, let's move to the next one. This is by Sharang. He's asking, sub 15,000 phones doomed to have ads. What's your opinion? No, not all smartphones under 15,000 have ads. For example, Asus does not put ads, Motorola does not put ads, Nokia does not put ads. So yes, you do have some options that are ad free. So it's not like every manufacturer is doing that. And now I think it's high time, the things that are going, if these manufacturers keep shoving ads, I think so users will move on, because users are fed up. Anyways, let's move. This is by Nikhil. Do you miss the physical LED notification light? Yes, I do miss it in some of the smartphones that do not have always on display, or when you pick it up you don't have a display. So in those smartphones I do miss that's in mid-range. And if you don't have always on or ambient display, it does still make sense to have that LED notification light. This is by Lakshay. Help me choosing a earphone in the rupees 2000 to 2500 price bracket for best audio quality and no PUBG latency. Okay, I would say no PUBG latency among the headsets that I have tested in this price band. The only one I would say that I liked was the OnePlus Z wireless neckband earphones. That's for 2000 rupees. But again, in terms of music quality, I simply did not like it. But that is the one, at least if you're using a OnePlus device, had the least latency in gaming. I wouldn't say it's not there, but it had the least gaming latency. So again, but music quality, I didn't like it. In terms of music quality, I would say the Oppo Encore something M31 or something, I felt that did better, but that definitely has a little bit of latency in gaming. I hope it helps you. So again, you got to choose what's more important for you. This is by Pratik. He's asking, what type of camera lens would you have preferred instead of the color filter on the OnePlus 8 Pro? I'm actually testing the OnePlus 8 Pro. Where did it go? Yes. Yes, technically it has 4 cameras at the back, And I would say I won't miss that color sensor, the fourth camera. Why do you need that fourth camera? I feel we are just into that marketing hype or whatever, having 4 or 5 cameras at the back makes it better. No, I would say just 3 rear facing cameras are more than enough. One is a regular one, second is a good wide angle one, and third a good telephoto, that's a zoom one. And these days with the wide angle they are able to do macro stuff also. For example, the Moto Edge Plus could do that. So why do you need 4 or 5 cameras? So I feel we're getting into the stupid marketing game. Give us 3 good cameras. These 3 cover all the aspects that you will require 95% time for the photography. So I don't see that 4th camera necessary. If you really want to give a macro with autofocusing capabilities or something like that, but I am not a big fan of going above 3, having that marketing gimmick, 4 cameras at the back, 5 cameras at the back. When will we stop? Anyways, let's move. This is by Racer ABM. I have a budget of 20,000, he says. Which one would be a better buy between the Poco X2 and the Motorola One Fusion Plus? I like stock Android, but Poco camera is the best in the segment. You have answered your question yourself. As I've told you, I like the Motorola because of the stock Android experience that you are getting. No ads or bloatware. It's like reminds me of using a Pixel device with that Moto actions, I would say. So that is the big plus point. But yeah, definitely I would say in terms of camera, the Poco X2's camera rear facing actually goes ahead. So again, you have to decide what is more important to you. This is by Malia. He's saying, is it possible for us to avoid Chinese smartphones? We have Oppo, Vivo, OnePlus, Realme, etc. If we remove these from our list, then we don't have much options. These phones are excellent for the price they ask. Should we go for price, value, or emotions? You forgot Xiaomi. And if you combine all of these Chinese vendors, in fact, they are now capturing almost 75% of the smartphone market in India. And just about 2 days ago, there was an article on Economic Times. I tweeted about it. Here is a screenshot, which said that there is no impact on sales for Chinese smartphones. We thought people will just stop buying because of what is going on our border and this COVID situation and stuff. But the reality is that due to, according to this Economic Times survey, people are still buying Chinese smartphone, and I feel the only reason is that other vendors are simply not providing that price to performance ratio. These Chinese smartphones are only selling in India because we as Indians actually value that price consciousness a lot, and in that respect I would say these Chinese phones are going ahead. And if other OEMs want to capture this market and take away from this Chinese manufacturer, they have to really concentrate on the pricing and provide good products at that price. If they can do that, why will anybody buy these Chinese smartphones? A simple thing. But again, we don't live in that world. I hope things change and manufacturers like Asus, Samsung, Nokia, etc., LG take notice of this as a big opportunity, because they have lost a lot of market because of these Chinese smartphones, and it's high time they look at it and capture the market. But will that happen is a question. And also I just want to ask you guys, I know every Indian is very patriotic. I'm getting a lot of questions. He will be happy to buy these non-Chinese smartphones, but the reality is that many of these non-Chinese smartphones sell at a premium of about 30 or 40%, and that's the big problem. If you can afford a non-Chinese smartphone, do that. Personally, I would say in my family, we don't use Chinese smartphones, or in fact, in most of the other products also that we use are not Chinese. For example, my computer is iMac Pro, the laptop is a MacBook. For example, most of the smartphones are non-Chinese. We have some Asus, we have a lot of Samsung smartphones. But again, all these options do cost a lot. So I don't blame you if you're buying a Chinese smartphone, because you're on a very tight budget and other alternatives are 30 or 40% more. But I feel this is high time that other manufacturers look at this and try to capture the market. If they don't do, this will just continue again and again, because you just can't expect an average Indian to pay a 30 or 40% premium for a non-Chinese smartphone. That is simply not going to happen. Anyways, this is by Deepak. My question is for you, Geekyranjit, is now India is moving towards boycott Chinese products. So what about 5G in India after how many years? Because the cheapest 5G equipment was from Huawei. I just saw this news yesterday. It's not just, for example, the two big players that are going to be in this market for 5G is Airtel and Jio, and it's been rumored that Jio will be going with Samsung for the 5G deployment, but Airtel and stuff is still evaluating. And yes, Huawei, ZTE, Nokia, and even Samsung are in the proposal. So yes, it's not just Huawei or ZTE, because Jio has hinted that they might go with Samsung. So it depends, and 5G deployment will come. It's not just Huawei who supplies 5G equipment. Yes, it's slightly on the cheaper side, but we do have a lot of other options like Nokia is there, Samsung is there, etc. So let's see what happens, because government hasn't banned it, but they have just given advisory not to use Chinese equipment in telecom for future projects like 5G. But let's see. I hope sense prevails there, and but again, it ultimately depends on these companies, because these companies are private companies and not government companies. Okay, this let's take this question also. This is by Vedant. What do you feel is still lacking in Android, even though it's so matured by now? What features would you like to see on Android 11 or 12? Yes, Android as an operating system has evolved quite a bit, I would say. And still, I would say, because I was testing the iPhone 11 Pro also recently, I feel the notifications are so beautifully done in Android. And I was playing with the Android 11 build. The beta build is available because I had a Pixel 4 lying around. I installed it, and I feel the notifications have become even better on Android 11. Now you can group a bunch of notifications based on what it is, so you've got to get it in there. And also another thing is that they have made some improvements in Android 11. This is regarding privacy, but I feel that is something that needs to increase a lot more because of what is happening on this world. Android should be even more strict with the apps, what they can do, and also the underlying OS, because many of these skins and stuff are there used by third-party OEMs, and what they can do with that data. I feel in those areas like privacy, super strict and stuff, and that will make Android a lot better. But I'm loving what Android 11 has done with notifications, I would say. Anyways, this is one more, and this is by Hrithik. He's making a statement. Moto made a comeback by giving a 730G at 17,000. Can Asus make a comeback in the mid-range smartphones? When will we see the Asus Zenfone Max Pro M3? This is the perfect time to launch a smartphone from a non-Chinese company in India. Yes, I feel the Moto, as you told, the Fusion, Motorola One Fusion Plus, such a long name. It's a good one. Snapdragon 730, SoC, stock Android, etc. at 17,000. Yes, definitely if Asus can release, the Max Pro M3 at a good price, there'll be a lot of takers. But as of now, frankly speaking, I have no news or any leaks about the Max Pro M3 for now. So don't know if it's coming, or if it's coming, when it's going to come. Anyways, this is last question. This is by Namish. He's asking, sir, today's mid-rangers are so good that many people are now satisfied with them. But if you are given a chance, what are the further improvements that you would like to see in mid-range smartphones? Yes, truly, Namish, mid-range smartphones have become so good now. Even now, you're having that fast charging. Battery life has been excellent on mid-range smartphones, way better than flagships, I would say. The only thing I would say as of now I'm looking as an improvement in mid-range smartphones would be stereo speakers, if possible. I know it's a little bit difficult to implement in a mid-range smartphone because of the cost, but that is one thing I would say I would love to have. But if OEMs give that, please don't remove the 3.5mm headphone jack. Anyways, guys, those were the questions for this tech Q&A session. If you guys liked that, hit that thumbs up button, and if you guys are still not subscribed to my YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. This is Ranjit, and I hope to see you in my next video. Take care, guys.